The NFL draft is a week away, and the rumors are swirling around the Tennessee Titans. What they might do, what they might not do. Let's talk about it on the Sick Podcast, Talking Titans. Sammy, start me up.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
Ladies and gentlemen, 94 yards. Touchdown, Titans. He is the baddest man in the NFL, and he just took her to the house.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast.
Sick!
It's gonna be sick.
Welcome to another episode of the Sick Podcast, Talking Titans. Jared and I are going to hold it down tonight as Salvatore watches his beloved New Jersey Devils try to avoid this sweep. We also have a phenomenal guest on tonight, Mr. John Vogel, about 18,000 followers on Twitter, phenomenal draft analyst. So welcome to the show, John. Thanks for joining us, and can't wait to pick your brain on as to what you think might go down next week, especially with our Tennessee Titans.
18,000 followers. I think you're being a little bit generous there. But
hey, I rounded up, buddy. I rounded up.
So we round up now. Okay.
Yes.
Never down.
Okay.
Never down.
Okay.
Never down.
Well,
That's how I graduated college.
Thank you for the intro. I might just hire you now to just, I'm going to walk into a bar and you're just going to hype me up.
Man.
Hey, this man right here. I'll just let you introduce me. So, what's your rate?
But what you say, what's my rate? With inflation, you probably can't afford me, buddy.
You're probably right.
Yeah. Thanks, Biden. No, thanks for coming on. We appreciate you. We heard nothing but great things about you from our team over at the Sick Podcast. And let's just dive right into it. So the NFL draft is a week away. And the Titans are sitting at 11, but there's rumors as to what they might do, what they might not do. Are they going to move up? Are they going to move back? Do they have their eye on a quarterback that they're going to move up to get? Are they going to stay put at 11 because they think they can get their guy at 11? We have a bunch of different opinions. We've talked to a bunch of different people, and everyone has their own take as to what they think the Titans will do and what they should do. You being the draft analyst, what do you think would be the most prudent thing for the Titans to do with their pick?
It's not a opinion that's exactly popular with fans, especially Titans fans. But to be prudent would be to sit at 11 and just let the board fall in front of you, because this draft is gearing up to get a little bit crazy. So for a couple months there, I think we all thought that CJ Stroud was going to go first overall. Made all the sense in the world. It did to me, at least. Stroud being a taller pocket type quarterback. When you look at that entire Panthers coaching staff and everybody that they've worked with quarterback wise, I mean, from all the way from Frank Reich down to the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, which is Josh McCown. It's Thomas Brown from the Rams. These are all guys that worked with tall pocket passers. So when everything kind of shifted and we started to realize that Bryce Young's going first overall, it was kind of like, this is a big shift for this coaching staff, because this is not the type of quarterback that they're accustomed to having. So number 2 is going to be huge. Where do the Texans go at 2? Are they going to go quarterback? It's kind of sounding like they're not. They're probably going to go with a defender if they don't trade the pick. So if you go defense right there, now the entire board's in chaos. So because you've got CJ Stroud, you've got Anthony Richardson and Will Levis all sitting there available at 3. And one of the best defenders off the board. So a lot of teams, I think, with the luxury picks, Seattle at 5, Detroit at 6, they all were kind of banking on quarterbacks going early so these defenders come down the board to them. You get one off the board really fast, that's going to really get some people all hyped up and start making a lot of phone calls. 3 becomes a very valuable pick. So to me, I know that there's a lot of speculation that the Titans are going to move up. I think that there is credence to those rumors. I think that there is, because nobody wants to go into next year with Ryan Tannehill as your starting quarterback, and the Titans don't want Malik Willis anywhere near the starting quarterback spot. So it's pretty obvious.
We love you already.
Yeah.
See, I'm just spitting facts, man. It's just they don't like Malik Willis. They don't think that there's much upside there. They don't want to take the time to develop him. So if they can, they'll move him in the draft. So that really spells you got to go quarterback, right? Unless we're going to take our time, bide our bide our time, maybe make a move for Lamar. I doubt it, but maybe that's in the cards. I don't know exactly what they're thinking. But I think that everybody thinks that moving up to 3 is going to be a really serious option for them with Arizona, especially if Houston doesn't take a quarterback at 2, because now you got an opportunity to go jump Indianapolis. That's another division rival of yours. Like, you got to jump on that. You got to take advantage of that.
You really transferred into my question, what I was going to ask you. So the Titans have $106 million in cap space next year. So what that's telling me, I've been on a roller coaster for the last 2 months now, whether I want a quarterback, whether I want JSN at 11, do I want Paris Johnson, do I want Peter Skoronczyk? I didn't know until this week where we found out that Bryce Young could possibly be the number 1 pick. Okay. We have the $106 million next year in free agency. That means, in my opinion, you cut or trade Ryan Tannehill in the draft, or you do the post-cut June 1st cut. Right, you save the $27 million. You go get your quarterback of the future. If Bryce Young is the pick, and Houston doesn't take a quarterback at 2, you trade and you get right on the phone with Arizona. You get C.J. Stroud, so you can develop him as the quarterback for your future, and you go surround him with talent like these other teams did with Joe Burrow, with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, Tua with Tyreek Hill and Waddle. That's how the NFL is going nowadays. So, in my opinion, if Stroud's there at 3 and we're friendly with Monty in Arizona, you get on the phone and you make that trade and you get Ryan Tannehill's cap space out of there. There's no question now.
No, it makes sense.
If Stroud is not there, then I agree with you. You sit back, you draft the best available, in my opinion, which is JSN, because we need playmakers on this team. So, I mean, it's going to be an exciting week right now.
And here's the other issue too: does Arizona go to 11? Arizona needs a big piece. They need something. They need one of these top players.
Yeah, but they're a lot of pieces away from being, a contender again, in my opinion. So I think they're going to be they're not going to be hesitant to maybe move back to 11, especially when they feel as though next year they're probably going to be able to get a haul for the top 3 pick that they're probably going to have again. Yeah. So I think they won't be hesitant to move
and a first next year too, because if we trade up, we're doing that.
Exactly. So
that's the other thing too, because Tennessee's not going to be the only team on the phone with Arizona. You know who else is going to be on the phone? Vegas. Indeed. Vegas is at 7, and that's a perfect place for Arizona to drop back to. And guess what? They're still going to get a king's ransom, because if you got a defender coming off the board at 2, the price for the 3rd overall pick just went up. It just tripled. That's the magnitude that we're talking about here in terms of this 1-2. Who goes 1 and 2? Life or death difference for the Arizona and what they're going to get in terms of compensation for that pick if they move down.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I don't think they'll be as hesitant to move down maybe to 11, considering what we'd have to give them to move up to 3. They're going to have a top pick next year that they could potentially move again if they're still sold on Kyler Murray as their quarterback, because we know it's going to be the Caleb Williams sweepstakes next year. Mm-hmm. So if they're looking at a top pick next year, they're going to move that for a bunch of draft capital as well. So, what you said made sense. Vegas is sitting there at 7. I don't know. I just, of course, I'm a little biased. I think if Stroud's there, Tennessee's going to do what they need to do to get that pick, because the rumor came out this week with Vrabel at the Ohio State Pro Day, said after whatever you're done in the shower, meet me in the receiver room. So, I don't want, listen, you're into it, whatever you're into, Vrabel, but, I think he's an Ohio State guy through and through. I think he's obviously going to maybe have a little bias towards CJ Stroud, but every Titans guy, we've had on the show is big on CJ Stroud. Me personally as well. I know Jared loves him too. Sal, he's a smooth passer. It just looks very natural to him. There are some things coming out that he's tough to coach. He didn't go to the Manning camp, this and that. I'm not buying that. I think there's a lot of posturing done this time of year. You're playing poker, basically. You're trying to bluff. You're trying to get teams to make moves based on reports and whatnot. I just think there's a lot of posturing done this time of year. But I think if Stroud's there at 3, I think Tennessee does what needs to be done to get that pick.
I will mention about that Manning Academy thing, because when that story broke yesterday, I'll be honest, I legitimately laughed out loud when I saw it. I was like, this is absurd. And so the thing is, I don't know exactly what the league thinks of Stroud. And what I've heard the entire time, through this entire draft cycle, is that there is a disconnect between older and younger scouts. Older scouts don't like them that much. Newer guys love them. Same thing with Will Levis. The older guys don't like him as much. Newer guys love him. And so I don't know if it's like there's like a buyer's remorse with a lot of the older scouts where they've seen similar prospects like Stroud and not work out in the league. Or if it's just more of I don't know what it is. So there's a lot of the thing that kind of when you see in this time of the year, when you start seeing like Justin Fields, it's a great example a couple of years ago. 2 weeks before the draft, all these stories started coming out about him and, he's got this issue and that issue. And, he had the illness or whatever. There was a whole bunch of different things that came out. And a lot of times it's certain people in the media that have been projecting someone, despite what they've been hearing, very, very high. And they have to talk them down because they're not going to go that high. The league doesn't think that highly of them. And so that was my first thought when I started seeing this stuff about CJ was, Is he not going to go at 3? Is he not going to be a top 5 pick? I mean, I'm thinking he probably is at this point, but maybe people like Levis better. Maybe people like Richardson better. As crazy as that sounds, that's happened before. Zach Wilson went, second overall, right? Over Justin Fields, over Mac Jones, over Trey Lance. I mean, things happen that are crazy in this business, but there's no credence to that rumor about him, the Manning Academy. He never committed to it.
Yeah.
He didn't ghost the Mannings. I don't know how you ghost somebody the night before an event and not show. Like, that doesn't even make sense when you think about it. No credence to those rumors. I talked to a couple of people I knew as soon as it broke, and we all had a good laugh over it, and that's that.
Just going back on the quarterback talk, I've been saying it almost for a year now because we were stuck with Malik Willis. Everyone falls in love with the player on their pro days, and they barely. I mean, they look at the tape, and with their competition they play, they fall in love with the presence. A 6'4" guy, 220, 240. Yeah, He throws the ball a mile on a 7-on-7, but when you put him on the field, reading an NFL type defense with different schemes every week, can he make the right decision? Can he throw the ball into tight windows and tight pockets? Some of these quarterbacks are one reads. Some of these quarterbacks are in college systems for 1 year, like Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. One was in 2 years in Kentucky. The other one was in Florida as a starter for 1 year and went 6 and 7. Why are these NFL scouts, falling and drooling all over these guys?
For Levis, it's more of in 2021, he ran an NFL style offense. Yeah. Because Liam Cohen left the Rams, went there to be the offensive coordinator, put a really good offense together. It's a Shanahan type system, which if you think about it, 12 teams right now are running in the NFL. So that automatically, if you've got experience in that type of a system and going through the reads and everything that's designed in that, you have interest immediately just because you did that. And in terms of Richardson's got 2 things that he does at an elite level at the quarterback position already. So number one, he's going to have a top 5 arm as soon as he walks in the NFL. Who's got a stronger arm than him? Maybe Patrick Mahomes, maybe Justin Herbert, maybe Josh Allen. I think those are the only 3 you could make an argument for that have a stronger arm than him. Okay, so cool. What about the athletic ability? Who is more athletic than this guy at the quarterback position in the NFL? Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, maybe Jalen Hurts. That's it. So he's already got 2 things that he does at a very elite level. When you watch him as a quarterback, when he's working the pocket, he has no issue working the pocket, right? He doesn't get all flustered. He's comfortable standing in there. The problem is his feet. That's the only problem with Richardson. If you get him consistent through his drop, when he goes into his drop, his upper body mechanics, everything gets fixed with the feet. A lot of the throws that he misses is because he's not being consistent when he drops. That's all it is. So with him, you've got 2 elite traits. You've just got to fix his feet. So the question becomes, is he a guy that wants to put in the work and is going to get it done? And if you look at his Florida career, there were a lot of people in Florida that, like the coaching staff, they didn't want him to be around. They were trying to keep Emory Jones until the coaching staff Dan Mullen got fired. Then they brought in the new staff. He got the chance to start. The rest is history. So that he can deal with stuff. He can work. That tells me right there that I'm going to get his feet fixed up. He's only got 13 career starts, which means that he's still moldable. So that the feet and all that's not set in stone. That's not like, it's not like breaking a habit. I can mold that. There's still stuff to work with there. So that's the intrigue with a guy like Richardson. And then with Levis, it's just he's got a good arm. I don't think it's great. He's got a good arm. And he's got the experience in an NFL system. That's literally what the intrigue is with him.
So do you think if, let's just say for argument's sake, that Stroud, goes to or isn't available, goes, let's just say top 5, top 6, top 7, and let's just say Richardson starts to fall a little bit. Vegas has Tennessee as one of the favorites to land Richardson. Could you see them moving up a few spots to get him, or maybe he slides like Justin Fields did to 10, and Tennessee just stays put or jumps a spot to get him? Do you think that's at all a possibility, or do you think for Tennessee it is we're making the move for CJ Stroud or we're playing it out with Tannehill this year?
Yeah, I think it's a possibility, right? And it's because the desperation for a quarterback, especially right now in that division is still up for grabs by all definition.
Yep. Very
Jacksonville,
well.
right? Jacksonville, they're ascending. They have a lot of really good pieces, but it still has to come together. It started to at the end of last year, but we've seen teams look completely different after they make a really late run and then they come back and they have all this hype. It doesn't happen. We've seen that before.
And now they have a first place scheduled next year too.
Yeah.
Right, that too, because they won the division last year. So I mean, there is a chance to go make a run and win this division. So for Tennessee, it's really about do you want to be aggressive or you want to be conservative? And if they get to a point where they think Richardson can help right away, I don't know if he can, but if they think he can, they're going to make the move up to get him, right? And then also think about too, they just hired Coach Charles London to be the passing game coordinator. And Coach London just worked with guys like Desmond Ridder, Marcus Mariota. He had Matt Ryan in that room before. So he has some versatility. And Felipe Franks is the guy that he was developing until they decided to move him to tight end as well. But the point is, he's okay with big athletic body types.
Yeah.
And he knows how to use them and scheme them that way. So if as the passing game coordinator, Richardson's a guy that maybe if he really likes him, I think that they make a move up for him for sure.
Now, we had somebody on last week, too, who said if they get Richardson, he's a big Titans fan on Twitter. He's Tic Tac Titans, big following. He said that he believes if the Titans take Richardson, that they still keep Tannehill as a bridge because he doesn't feel as though that Richardson's ready to start from day one, like Bryce Young, like CJ Stroud. Do you think if they take Richardson that they keep Tannehill? I'm a believer in the sense that if you trade up and go get this kid, you're getting him to start from day one. Yeah. Do you think they keep Tannehill? Or do you think if they get Richardson, they use Tannehill as what they used Alex Smith for when they drafted Mahomes as that bridge where they know they can still be competitive and they have their future waiting in the wings? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, they keep Tannehill 1,000%. Yeah, because the thing with Richardson is I think everybody agrees he's not ready to play immediately because, like I said, he's got feet take some time to fix. Josh Allen is a perfect example of that where he had ungodly arm talent coming out of college and the athletic ability. But his issue was his feet, right? But when you go back and you watch what Allen did at Wyoming, he had that same sort of, he doesn't do the little things bad, where the way he works the pocket, the way that he maneuvers it, the way that his release is, it's all smooth. It's the same thing with Richardson. So yeah, you're going to keep the veteran because you want to develop him. You don't want to throw a guy that you're trying to mold and that you're trying to, fix these issues with into the fire because now he typically reverts back to old habits. You want to establish the habit before he has an opportunity to revert. And so that's kind of why you keep Tannehill around. You try to, develop him, let him sit back, let him adjust. Speed of the game is a big difference there too. Even SEC level is very good. It's not the NFL, but I think that's, you got to keep Tannehill in that case.
If they end up with Stroud, though, he's the day one guy.
Probably. I would imagine so. The other thing too is there's 2 quarterbacks on that roster right now. It's Tannehill and it's Willis, and they don't want either one of them. So that's kind of the issue too. You think that there's got to be some sort of veteran that's going to come down the line that's been around in the league for a while that's going to get in that room. I don't know who that is. Blaine Gabbert just came off the board. He went to Kansas City. So it's not going to be him, but they need to pad up that room. And that's what also kind of makes me wonder what they're thinking about Tannehill. It's not very transparent, which is what you want going into the draft, right? You don't want people to know what you're going to do, but it's not really clear what they're going to do with Tannehill at all.
All right, let's switch up a little bit here because we have another glaring need on our team, and it's the wide receiver position. Because
Yeah.
we have zero depth there besides Burks, and who knows what we're going to get about him. So you're the draft expert. What can you tell us about this draft class with the wide receivers?
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of guys that can contribute immediately for the Titans, I think, because the one thing that's interesting, the wide receiver position is kind of headed toward that same direction of the value of the running back, right? We've seen the running back value diminish overall, and it's really diminished over the last 6, 7, 8 years. And the problem with, and I think I was just on a Pennsylvania radio talking about this earlier today, but the thing is, you have the wide receiver, the running back position. You don't have you have too much influx coming in to meet the demand. There's not as much demand as there is talent coming in. And that's why you see all these big running backs in college football. There's a ton of them. They're really good. They come into the league, and you're sitting there watching this guy get drafted in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, go undrafted. Abram Smith's a great example. He's killing it in the XFL right now. He's undrafted, not playing the NFL. Why? He's the best running back in the XFL because the demand in the NFL is not meeting the talent that's coming into it. So the wide receiver position is kind of headed in that same direction right now. Because remember when OBJ made that catch on Sunday Night Football and everybody went nuts, 8 years ago? Well, everybody went from wanting to be a quarterback or being a running back to, hey, I want to be OBJ. And that changed the wide receiver position. So that helped the NFL because everybody started going nickel, right? Everybody had to go nickel because everybody's going 3 wide. And sometimes you go 4 wide. So you got to have 3 or 4 really good receivers on your team now. That's just a given. All right. Most teams have 3 or 4 really good receivers on their team. So now you're running into this issue where you have all this supply coming in and the demand is not there for it. So this is a really great class for the Titans to go 2 receivers. Maybe if they go 2nd round, if they still have these picks, they go 2nd round, take a wide receiver, 4th round, take a wide receiver. They potentially have 2 guys that are going to contribute immediately on the team. I think you got to get a big slot. You got to get a Z. A big slot is somebody like you could even go with a tight end if you wanted. You've got Chigo Okonkwo, who's a really high upside guy. Loved him in Maryland. Liked what I saw from him this past year. And then Kyle Phillips is your small slot. Kyle Phillips, vastly underrated receiver. He's insane as a route runner. Okay, so there's
he
some
could
good
stay on the field.
Yeah, if he can stay on the field and get some weight up.
Same thing with Treylon Burks, right? If he can stay on the field. But so you go out there. I think, honestly, if I didn't need a quarterback so bad and I didn't move up and I stayed at 11 and Jackson Smith and Najigba is there, I'm taking
it. Has to be the pick.
Yeah.
Taking it.
Yeah,
I don't know if he makes it there.
That was going to be my next question for you is if we stay put at 11 and we don't make a move for a quarterback, and we have Smith and Jigba on the board, do we go with him or maybe do we go with a lineman that might be available there, Skoronski, Paris Johnson, but I'm of the mindset they spent some money in free agency on the offensive line. And I have no problem if they want to take another offensive lineman. I'm a big believer in building a team inside out. You throw as many good offensive and defensive linemen into a room and you figure it out. But if they went, Jackson Smith and Najigba, I have no issue with that. Everyone thought the Bengals were a little crazy for taking Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell. And, look how it's worked out for them. Almost won a Super Bowl, almost went back to the Super Bowl this year. So that was going to be my next question for you. But yeah, I agree. I would take Jackson Smith and Najigba, but I think a lot of Titans fans have convinced ourselves, which we convince ourselves of things all the time.
Yeah.
But I think we've convinced ourselves we're getting a quarterback. We don't know who it is, but I think it's either going to be Richardson or Stroud. But like you alluded to earlier in the show, after the number 2 pick, mayhem can break out. If Houston doesn't take a quarterback, then you're going to have a lot of people, on the phone to try to get their guy. So, but I actually want to ask you kind of a personal question. I think it's ironic that we're Jersey guys and we're Titans fans. And I'm like half a Philly guy, half a Jersey guy. I was born in Philly. My whole family's born and raised there. My wife is from there. Her whole family's still there. A lot of Philly ties. Big Philly sports fan outside of football. So I'm a South Jersey Philly guy, and I ended up being a Titans fan. You're a Nashville guy, ended up being an Eagles fan. How'd that come about?
Yeah, so when my family, on my mom's side, all found out that I was starting to watch football at 6, 7, 8 years old, somewhere around there, they just started sending me Eagles gear like crazy, and couldn't help myself. That was 2003, 2004. So Brian Dawkins, Donovan McNabb, that the peak of Andy Reid in Philadelphia,
Yep.
like
Jeremiah
Westbrook,
Trotter, very
yep.
cool team.
T.O. got in there for a little
Yep.
bit. Brett Selleck, tight end. I mean, like, it's a great team. It was a fun team. It was a team that, as a kid, you wanted. Even Javon Curse got him from the Titans.
Yep.
Yep.
You know, there for a couple of years as well. But that was a fun team. That was what got me into football, and so just stuck with it over all the years. You know.
So I don't want to waste too much time talking about those Dirty Birds down in South Philly. But what do you think they do, picking right ahead of our Titans at number 10? I was just over my in-laws' house, and talking to my brother-in-laws, and they all think that they might take Bijan, run his knees off his legs for the next 5 years, and then let him go. How do you feel about what the Eagles might do at 10?
Yeah, I think Bijan makes a lot of sense because let Miles Sanders walk this year. I know there's several running backs they like later too, so I think they were kind of planning Bijan to go a little bit earlier. But I think there's a really good chance he's there. I just don't know if they pull the trigger. I wonder if they go with a defensive lineman. I wonder if they go with an offensive lineman. They're known for beefing up those positions.
Yep.
They might trade back too. That's another option, as crazy as that might sound. But
I think they would, especially if a quarterback is falling because they have another pick. I think they will.
Yeah, they got the 30th overall pick sitting down there, and I mean they have options. And Howie doesn't like to just sit and let things happen in the draft. He likes to move around and do things and maneuver. He'll find a way to probably squeeze a first round pick next year out of somebody. So he's got 2 next year too. But
yeah, we know all about Howie and how he last year. Trust me. I'm still talking to a therapist twice a week about it. But speaking of trading down, though, I have brought it up multiple times. Very, very few people have agreed with me. I don't think it would be the craziest thing if Tennessee decided to trade back. You have a new GM who is, what more could a GM want than more draft capital to build a team the way he wants to build it? And if the quarterbacks are gone and they have someone on their board that they think they could get at 19 or 20 or 21, why not trade back, pick up an extra second, pick up an extra third? Do you think that at all is a possibility for Tennessee? And do you think it would be a wise decision for them to move back and, pick up more draft capital going forward?
I'd be on the phone with Tampa Bay right now. Honestly, go back to 19. Tampa Bay needs a left tackle. They just lost Donovan Jones, I think, Donovan Wilson. Yeah. Forget who that tackle was off the top of my head right now, but they lost him. He retired. They need a left tackle. And there's a left tackle in this class that fits Tampa Bay so well. His name's Broderick Jones, and he's coming out of Georgia. And he's basically a clone of exactly who they just lost. Yeah. And so if he's on the board at 11, I would have a deal if I'm Tennessee already worked out where it's like, hey, you want this guy? Here, we got this trade in principle. So if it happens, we're going to move back to 19. And as crazy as this might sound, you could let the first 4 quarterbacks come off the board. You can move back to 19, and you might still take one. I mean, Hendon Hooker is a guy that people are kind of sleeping on right now.
Garrett's boy.
Not here.
No, he's legit. And the way that he's got good arm talent. He's a smart guy. He's interviewed extremely well since the Senior Bowl. He's way ahead of schedule with his ACL. They're saying he's going to be ready for training camp. Like at the start of training camp, he'll be good to go after tearing his ACL. That's insane. So he's way ahead of schedule there. That's a guy that you could potentially start day 1 too. I don't think a lot of people realize that, where if you have the right system in place for him, he can start immediately. I think that maybe there is some platform stuff that you need to work out with his feet, just because the way the Tennessee, the Vols offense was designed is kind of to get the ball out fast and, not so much move in the pocket. So there wasn't a lot of drop, that he had to do in his game. But I think that if they like him, that's a guy that you could potentially move back and take, And I think that if you can get, you're not going to get a first round pick next year out of somebody to move up from like 19 to 11, but you go get a second and maybe a fourth out of it. Now you got 2 seconds. Now you got 2 fourths. And remember what we were saying about wide receivers? Now you got picks to go get them and address the defense and everything else that you want to. So
no,
I think that's an option.
And I think I've been pounding the table about this guy for a while now. No one's talking about him. He's going to be a first-round pick. I love Michael Mayer. I think he would be such a good tight end. Seems like he would be a Vrabel kind of guy. Put up phenomenal numbers at Notre Dame. Can block, can catch. Obviously, an extremely intelligent guy. You need another tight end to pair with Chig. I think that would just be a great pick to move back to, like you said, 19-ish. Pick up another 2, maybe pick up a 4, and then go get a tight end who you're going to have for a long time. I don't know if it'll happen, but in a perfect world, that's what I would like them to do. I think he's going to go a little higher than people may think.
I don't think he gets past 15.
No,
I don't think he gets past Green Bay.
Right, yeah.
Green Bay's gonna snag him, I'm pretty sure. Yep.
But then you have the other kid. What's it? Kincaid?
Dalton Kincaid, yep.
You got a ton, man. You got a ton of tight ends.
Well, that's the thing, too, is it's like you move back to 19, you don't even have to take a tight end right there. You could potentially take
one at 41.
Maybe, 41, you could have a guy like Luke Musgrave.
Darnell Washington.
Darnell Washington's probably gone by then, to be honest.
Think so?
Oh, yeah.
Someone's going to fall in love with him and take
somebody who runs
Bengals.
heavy. Well, the Bengals could, and he'd be scary on the Bengals, man, because they already have all the size and everything, and Burrow's an accurate passer, and Darnell's a guy that's going to work really well in the short to intermediate parts of the field. Like, that would be scary. Philly would be scary at 30. Kansas City would be scary at 31. Because here's the thing: look at the top 4 teams that played in the conference championships this year. All 3 of them. The only one that didn't run a lot of 12 personnel last year was Cincinnati. And that's because they didn't have tight ends. They used their big slot. They used, Tyler Boyd. Is that right?
Yeah,
Tyler Boyd. Yeah. I had to think about that for a second. I was like, because there's Higgins, there's T. Higgins, and the names kind of blend together at some point. But, so you got Tyler Boyd, who's 6 foot. You can run out of the slot, and Higgins has got size, and Jamar Chase is 6 foot. So you've got guys that have size over there. And then, but they were the only team that didn't run a lot of 12 personnel last year. Everybody else, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Kansas City, ran 30% of their snaps last year or more out of 12 personnel, which tells you that that's probably the direction of the league right now. And Darnell Washington is the perfect tight end, too, for that 12 personnel because he's done it. He's been doing it the last 2 years at Georgia at a very high level. So if you got a guy that you like that can stretch the field and you got him with the size underneath, I mean,
oh yeah, you're going to have linebackers trying to guard him because if you're doubling one of those receivers, you're going to have to put somebody, on him that he's just going to make look foolish.
Yep.
But we're a little scarred talking about the Bengals, what happened a couple years ago. So we're going to stop talking about the Bengals. Although I'm a big Burrow guy,
I want to stop talking about the first round as well. We got a draft. We have a draft specialist here, right? The meat of the draft really starts in the 3rd round and later.
Yeah.
Who is a prospect that you love and you want to see flourish in the NFL that you've been trying to study film? Who is a prospect you're absolutely in love with?
Carl Brooks, defensive tackle out of Bowling Green, and he's a 3 tech. He can play a little bit of 5. He had a lot of his success at Bowling Green playing at 3 and 5 tech, but the problem was their scheme needed him to play a 0 a lot of the time. Regardless, he was able to put up numbers. They got better every year. He went from, I think, 4 sacks to 8 sacks to 12 in the last 3 years. And then, 4 sacks being the last time they had a full season because they only played 4 games, I think, in 2020 for the COVID year. The entire MAC shut down for the most part. But, no, this is a guy that I went into the Senior Bowl thinking he was just a dude that, could throw hands, and that was about it. I mean, just like power his way back, speed to power guy, but he showed hands. He knows how to use them. He knows how to be a technician, get in the backfield. And he's a guy that I have no idea how he didn't get an invite to the NFL Combine. No one who is at the Combine had any idea how he got snubbed either. So I like that. I like him. I think that he's going to be a star in the NFL at some point. I just don't know who it'll be for.
Yeah, we'll see. People win Super Bowls with those mid-round draft picks. So, we're looking forward. Yeah, we're looking forward to it after the last couple of drafts, especially our Titans had with a laundry list of busts. We need to hit on our picks, and we have a lot of confidence in Rand Carthon and what he's going to do. We're just, as Titans fans, very anxious because it's all about when that first domino is going to fall.
Yep.
Maybe Tannehill would have got released by now, but it doesn't make sense because we could save
very quiet.
Could save the $27 million after June 1st. Okay, fine, but then there was no aggression in trying to get Lamar, which a lot of Titans fans wanted. People were talking about Henry being moved. So, the direction of the team is really waiting on the first domino to fall. So I think after next week, Titans fans will have a better idea of, the direction in which this team is headed. So we're looking forward to it. We want to thank you for coming on, obviously. But first, before you go, our man Jared has a new thing we kind of do where the listeners get to know you a little better, where we ask you, a bunch of questions to get to know you a little better. And Jared, take it over.
Sammy, start us up.
Think fast.
Like Vince said, we're going to ask you some questions to get to know you better, or just some predictions that we have. So, how long you been covering football, and what has your journey been like?
6-7 years now. So, I got to a point in my life where I was like, if I'm not around the game, then I'm going to hate myself. So, found a way to make it happen. Started Fansided, came up through several websites that way. Did a deployment, went to Afghanistan, was at in Kuwait for a little while, and then came back and worked my way up into where I do this now, where this is my life, it's my job. So.
First, appreciate you serving, and thank you
Absolutely.
very much for that. We talked about it before, but I just want to hear from you because maybe it changed your mind. The draft's a week away. Do you really believe that Bryce Young is going to be the first overall pick?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
I'm buying it.
You're buying it?
Yeah, I'm buying it.
All right. So you also look like a guy that is one of us and can crush beers on the weekend. So what is your favorite? What is your favorite type of beer?
Miller Lite.
Miller Lite. Okay. That's a good one. Favorite place to eat in Nashville?
Oh man, that's a tough one. There's a bunch of places on Broadway that are really good. Man, that's really tough.
Closet Gem.
Really tough.
For us guys trying to come down, give us a Closet Gem.
Okay, so Honky Tonks is actually pretty good. That's a good place to go. That's more of have a good time, drink a beer, get a good fat burger. That's a pretty good place.
Okay. All right. Last, like I said, since the draft is a week away, give us your bold prediction that will happen. We've been asking all of our guests about that. I'd love to see everyone's opinion on it, but a bold prediction. Any team, anything happening in the draft.
Bold prediction. Okay, so between 20 and 31, there will be no wide receivers or running backs taken.
I think that may be the best one we had so far because that is very bold.
Interesting. Well, thanks for coming on, John. We appreciate you. I did not know you were a veteran. I appreciate you serving our country.
Absolutely.
Takes a lot of balls to do that, and we appreciate you and everyone else who serves. Let us know, though, before you go, where can we find your work? What platforms are you on, and where can we find you?
So, bunch of announcements the day of recording this when we dropped about the future where my work will be. There's still some stuff. So the best place just to keep up with it all, because there's no way I can sit here and list it all off anymore, is just get on Twitter, follow me at DraftVogel. And that's the best way to keep up with everything that's going on, man.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. I hope the Eagles make just a god-awful pick next week. and I was talking to my neighbor today, and I told him as long as the Eagles don't trade for Derrick Henry, then it's a win for all Titans fans. So
we can all agree on that.
Yeah,
I don't think we want Derrick Henry anyway. So
you
AJ
killed us last year.
AJ Brown, man, thank you.
Yeah, killed us for that.
On that note, get the fuck out of here. And thanks for coming on, man. You were great. We would love to have you back on maybe after the draft or before the season. Pick your brain. You were a plethora of knowledge. We appreciate you coming on, and have a good night, my man. Finish that beer.
Same. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Take care, man.
Great guest, John Vogel. Follow him on Twitter. Like I said, big following, gave a great insight as to what he think might happen. And, we'll see what comes to fruition next week. But I guess if you want to chop it up for a few minutes, Jared, what's your gut telling you about what the Titans are going to do? It's not what you want them to do, not what you think, they should do. What does your gut feeling tell you about what the Titans are going to do next week?
I'm losing sleep right now because we're a week away. I want the quarterback and I want the receiver. So, I mean, I really don't know. But all I know is with the rumors swirling every day, every week, I'm like, shit, can CJ Stroud really fall to 11? What happens if Bryce Young gets taken and Houston doesn't take a quarterback? Do we make that phone call to Monty and move up? What would we give up to get that? I'm like, man, we don't have no wide receivers. There's no wide receivers, that can make an impact like JSN at 11. Do we just stay at 11 and take him? I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. But all I can say is I want one of 3 Ohio State players. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Paris Johnson, JSN, or CJ Stroud. One of them make it happen.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. My gut is telling me that we're getting a quarterback. Which one? I don't know. I want it to be CJ Stroud, but I've kind of talked myself into them trading up to go get their guy. I don't know who it is. If Houston doesn't take a quarterback at 2, I think we're on the phone at 3 doing what we need to do to go get CJ Stroud. If not him, maybe Anthony Richardson. I don't know if we stay put at 11. If none of the quarterbacks are there, I don't think, I think we have to go receiver, to be honest with you. Wouldn't mind Paris Johnson, massive human being, going to be a franchise left tackle for somebody for a long time. But our wide receiver room is as thin as Sal, basically. We need help in every which way. We love you, Sal, but of course, I'm always throwing shade. Go Devils. But I think Jackson Smith has to be the pick at 11 if he's there. And if he's not there, and one of those top linemen are gone, trade back, load up on draft capital. Trade back to the late teens, early 20s, and go get maybe someone like a Trey Flowers who will probably be there at the end of the. What's that?
Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers. I'm sorry. Maybe get someone like him who is electric, can burn. But, we'll see. But I think my gut is leaning towards taking a quarterback. I don't know which one, if we're staying put and doing it or trading up and doing it. But I think we've been so quiet with what our plans are as a front office. I think that we have something up our sleeves. Have to. Or maybe not. Who knows? It's been a very conservative, free agency for us, Like Sal was talking about last week, the Titans fans always think that something sexy is going to happen, and it never usually happens. But it's a new GM who's going to want to do things his way, obviously in conjunction with Vrabel, and I'm excited to see it. And this time next week we'll be on the clock. So
for real. What do you before we even wrap this up? If Houston does take like Jalen Carter or Will Anderson at 2, and they don't go quarterback. It has to be a must that we call Arizona and jump the Colts. You don't let the Colts either trade up to 3 or, have Arizona stick and pick, and then the Colts have their pick of any 3 quarterbacks if you're in love with those quarterbacks.
I think Tennessee, should that happen, obviously teams are going to be prepared. I think all teams have a deal in place with Arizona. They've probably talked to them already. If they haven't, they have a deal that they've talked about as a front office with their respective organization, whoever that may be. But in regards to Tennessee, we have obviously a relationship with Monty Ossenfort, Arizona's new GM. If Houston does not take a quarterback and Stroud is there at 3, you have to think that if you're a team that's in need of a quarterback, interested in Richardson or Stroud or Levis, you have to have a deal already in place.
To jump the division rival, it has to be.
You have to. But then listen, Monty's not going to do us any favors.
No, absolutely not.
He's going to be playing poker with us too. Yep. He's going to be telling us that Indy's offering this, and then he's going to be telling Indy, well, Tennessee's offering me that. So, it's probably going to cost, obviously the 11th pick and probably a first and second next year, maybe a first in 25 as well. We'll see. But you have to think that Tennessee already has a deal in place should Houston not take a quarterback. Although I still think that they are. I just, I don't know. I think, do you really believe in Davis Mills? He's shown flashes. He's been okay. Hasn't had many weapons. But to me, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are franchise quarterbacks. The other guys are gambles. So if you can get Stroud at 2, if I'm Houston, that's probably my move. But you never know what teams are thinking. They have a new head coach as well. He's defensive minded.
Yep.
So we'll see. We'll see for sure. And they could also be in play for a guy like Trey Lance, who thankfully we didn't waste too much time talking about him. Because DeMeco Ryans was in San Francisco, correct?
Yep.
So he obviously has to have some sort of relationship with Trey Lance. Maybe they get him to compete with Davis Mills. I don't know. But if Houston doesn't take a quarterback, mayhem will ensue, and I'm all for it,
Yeah.
So that being said, great show tonight. Hopefully we get our boy Salvatore back on next week, unless the Devils are in Game 7 or something like that. Because we know my Sixers are going to sweep his bitch-ass Brooklyn Nets. But great show tonight, and do us all a favor, like our stuff, retweet it. You can listen to us on any of the major platforms. But great show, Jared. I hope you had a fun time in Arizona. It looks like you didn't use too much sunscreen. You're looking a little red. I'll send you some CeraVe. All right.
That's it.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say?
Buckle up. Thursday's right around the corner, boys, and hopefully it's gonna be a good one.
Sammy, send us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.